Hi, we're going to look at the area word problems from this practice packet, and it really helps if you have a copy of the practice packet that is printed out for you. But if you don't, you can always look at the PDF, and we're going to go all the way down to page 15. So I'm going to scroll. Hold on. Okay, and the first problem here is number 1. It says Tristan makes a poster that is 2 feet long and 1.5 feet wide. Now, typically when we see posters, they are usually, rectangles. So typical posters, right, are rectangles. And when you don't have a picture to go off of, then what mathematicians do, what anybody would do, this problem would do, is they would draw a rectangle. I mean, that's what we do. Now, I already noticed my rectangle is probably not drawn correctly, but it's close enough. I'm going to make it 2 feet wide, or 2 feet long, I'm sorry, and 1.5 feet wide. Now, since it's a rectangle, it doesn't matter which way it goes. I could have labeled it the other way as 2 feet and 1.5 feet because you could turn it any way you want, but this made the most sense to me. It's asking me for the area. So if I'm going to find the area of this poster, then to find the area of a rectangle, I know the formula for the area rectangle, and I look it up on my formula sheet if I don't remember, is length times width. Then the next thing I do after I write down the formula is I substitute. So the length, they're telling me it's 2 feet long, times the width is 1.5 feet wide. So I'm multiplying the length times the width. And when I multiply those, I get 3. And that would be feet squared, because area is squared, because the area is the number of squares. Now, the next question says he wants to put a border around the outside of the poster. So what is the perimeter of the poster? So now I'm going to use the same poster, but I'm finding the perimeter. So the perimeter, remember, is the distance around. So this is a rectangle, so it has 4 sides. So I'm going to have to add each of the 4 sides. 2 plus 1.5 plus 2 plus 1.5. So I'm going to add 2 plus 1.5 plus 2 plus 1.5. So perimeter doesn't have a formula per se. I mean, there is a formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. I just never use it because I just have to add the sides together. So it's really not it's not any easier to use the formula than it is just to add them together. So when I add all those sides together, I get 7. Now, perimeter is distance. So that's just 7 feet, not square feet. So the next question says Melissa is hanging up a pennant, pictured here. The length of the pennant is 30 inches. So that means the distance from here to here, okay, the distance is 30 inches. And that the width is 12. So I'm going to write on my picture, I'm going to write down these dimensions. Then when I did that, I realized that's kind of messy. So let me draw again. I'm going to draw on my paper. I'm going to draw a triangle, and I'm going to draw it the way that I like to see it. I like to see it like this, with the base here. And this pennant is we call it an isosceles triangle. That means that these 2 sides here, these 2 legs, are the same, and that this down here is a different size. So that's 12 inches. And when they measure it, they're measuring it from the tip here to the side, and they're going to measure it, perpendicular. So that means this is 30 inches. So that's the height. So to find the area, the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite the formula. So area equals, and I check my formula sheet, but it equals 1/2 times the base times the height. So now I'm going to substitute those numbers in. 1/2 times the base here, and I see when I redrew it, see how that's the base, times 12. And then the height is that perpendicular distance from the tip to the edge here, and that's 30. And now I can just put these things in the calculator, and when I work that out, I get 180 square inches. And I'm going to check my answer. It says how many square inches? I have square inches in my answer, so I know the answer to that question. So the key to doing these problems is, 1, you're going to want to draw a picture of what's being described. Because even if they have a picture, like in this one has a picture of a guitar, that's really not going to help. Like when they say a fretboard, a fretboard's a rectangle, or a parallelogram. It tells us that it's parallelogram. So you're going to want to draw a parallelogram to be able to solve the problem. Okay? And then after you draw the picture, you're going to want to label the things here. The bottom of the fretboard, the base measures 52 millimeters, 52 and a half millimeters. Okay? And it says that the height is 6 millimeters. So I'm going to want to draw those things inside my picture. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to keep in mind is I want to make sure to find the correct formula on my formula sheet. So I'm going to look for the formula for a parallelogram. And the formula for a parallelogram is A equals base times height. So once I write down that correct formula, I'm going to use substitution with the values that are given to me in the word problem to make sure that I solve this correctly. And the third thing I'm going to do is go back and make sure I've answered the correct question. It says, what is the area of the bottom fret markers? So once I know the area here, then that would answer that question, which in this case is 315 millimeters squared. So make sure you're doing all of those steps to get the right answer. So you can complete the other practice problems and check your answer on the answer key. Thanks.